there are three purposes for all art. One is that it reflects us, a community, at a given moment in time. And that kind of art can be quite rough. And it has to be rough because it has to show us the way we are. Not the way we like to think we are, really how we are.
I think one of the things that frustrates me the most in our society is indifference. That when people are okay and they're safe, they don't care about other people, or they don't care about making a difference. And indifference makes me angry. Because indifference costs other people.
The other one is a visionary kind of art. It's looking into the future. It's seeing what might be. It's giving us possible solutions. It's looking into the future. And that's also appropriate because it gives us an access into what was.
It's, you almost think of yourself as a sort of a, you know that thing, a canary in a coal mine. That you almost set off, that the images you make are warnings. They're warnings, they're kind of wake-up calls, trying to get people to, get them to think, get them to question their environment rather than living too comfortably and just continuing on what they're doing.
And the third kind of art is the art that looks back and critiques what was, how we got to be where we are. It reflects not on the moment, but it reflects on what brought us to this position. And they all three are valid.
Selling to the public is one of the most selling art to the public is, I think, one of the most difficult things you can do, because there are just so many people who are individuals within themselves and they've got their own specific taste. One likes his chocolate box lines in the Serengeti and the little pretty daffodils, just wallflowers and all that kind of crap. That's one person.
Well, so many people, so many tastes. Some people like realistic works, others they like just the color, or they don't like color.
Although it's because of the recession we are experiencing, people find it quite difficult to purchase.
Art doesn't sell so easily now, since previously.
Unfortunately, I think that there's a negative effect at this stage due to the economic meltdown that we are experiencing in this country. So art is not doing as well as we expect it to do, but it goes through phases as any other product in the market. There are better days and there are worse days.
And you've painted a specific style, for example, like my style. It's a very narrow target market.
Well, I don't know, that's my main mission. It's part of the balance, the whole balance, a little balancing trick you have to do.
I haven't been painting for so long, but I know that there's a lot of more exciting mediums in art. Art is still very exciting. There's a lot of new things. People experiment more. It's not the normal just only paint and a brush. It's now from using sandpaper to glass to you name it on art pieces.
So I went majorly onto paper, and that was quite a breakthrough because art on paper is never seen as a valuable artwork.
There's a large weight towards paperworks, art on paper, and a lot of black and white artworks.
And I don't know if I made a statement by doing all my stuff on paper as opposed to on canvas. So I think for myself and for the local community, art community, I think we've raised the level of art on paper. Direct working on paper, not just printing and etching.
Well, the gallery's been going for 6 years, and one of the first exhibitions that I ever had was a Diane Victor smoke drawing exhibition. And the smoke drawings were really inexpensive, but nobody wanted to buy them because they were scared of the medium. And today they're paying 20,000 Rand for those things that we first sold for 3,000.
The biggest change, well, obviously contemporary media coming in, printmaking. Printmaking has always been based on what's happening in contemporary printing media. I mean, when they started developing the printing press, Gutenberg press, that's when printmaking started. It's always been connected to commercial printing techniques. So digital printing has had a major effect on the printmaking that we do. So I don't use any electrical driven machines. Everything's manual. Everything's really, really simple. The machines we're using now are no different to what they used 500 years ago. So the biggest change would have come in is that contemporary printmaking media now allows you to do digital printing. And then I combine the really contemporary with this old historical technique and try and bond the two together. Because as society changes, you can't keep up with technology, you can't. You would go crazy, you'd get really depressed and suicidal. But trying to find alternative media to draw in that reflect our society more effectively. So I've been working with candle smoke and book ash as drawing medium. That's two mediums that I've kind of specialized in the last few years, specifically candle smoke, which is fairly difficult to draw with. You're basically just drawing with a candle and you're catching the smoke.
I think painting is still very popular because people know what to do with it, and whereas installation might be very exciting, but you don't know where to put it in your home. You need to put it somewhere. So I think two-dimensional work is still very popular, but sculpture is also very, very popular, but those are usually more expensive, not always, but generally they tend to be more expensive. And so very often it's your larger sculptures that will go to the big buyers, so the big investors.
So I mean, if you go to the museums, not so much in this country, but if you travel overseas, you queue to get into art museums. Now in this day of contemporary technology, you can find any of those images on the internet. Why do people still pay a lot of money and queue just to stand in front of an artwork? And for some reason it's almost like a pilgrimage. They get a lot of pleasure out of looking at art. I think it's a very primitive part of our, well, primitive not in a negative way, but a very basic form of a human need to look at beautiful aesthetics that give them some kind of reading.
We have exhibited international artists' work before, but we find that the reception is not always so good. Generally, I find that the buyers actually want to build a relationship with the artist. In other words, they want to follow them. I think you would say no to an artist if it doesn't fit the vision of the gallery. And we have said no to many artists before, simply because it doesn't fit the vision that you have for your gallery, and ours would be contemporary. Firstly, I think they look for a name.
And because people want names, you know, they sometimes rather go for the more expensive Toyota than the Tata.
But they still buy very personally. In other words, own taste, what they like, what they don't like. And I think at the back of their minds is also, where will this work fit into my home or into my existing collection? But I find that it's usually when a buyer buys the work, it's not just for the name, but there's something that triggers them. So there's some kind of an identification process taking place where they like this work for a very specific, usually very personal reason.
Hopefully that they connect with the work, that it's something that they love. Once they've established a passion for that particular piece, then they look further as to the quality of the work, the technical skills, but mostly it's about love for that piece.
When they come here, I try to help them to buy the stuff that is really going to work for their house. That's the main thing. It's got to work for them. They've got to love it. They've got to be comfortable with it, and if I can help them to really be happy about what they choose, I've accomplished my goal.
When I first did the art gallery and the fashion together, I wanted to take the art out of the wide cube environment and put it in an easier, accessible place where people can very easily saunter in to look at specific art pieces without being intimidated, where the fashion people come in and look at the art, and vice versa, the art people come and look at the fashion.
However, from our perspective, we offer a platform where they can sell directly themselves, and we also take a much smaller commission out of them. So at the end of the day, it's easier and more cost effective for an artist to sit here and sell directly to the public. I think the advantage too is if a person buying art can meet the artist behind the painting, it is so much better for both parties at the end of the day.
And whereas many people don't even visit museums, they don't go to galleries. So you've got a major problem because the artist has this big concept or that they want to communicate to people, they want to bring about awareness and consciousness about things. Nobody sees it, you know, and it misses its goal altogether.
I really believe if you really want to get to appreciate art, music, writing, whatever, is to be exposed to it more often. You know, and I think that art through the internet gets much more exposure. It's so much easier for a person to go onto the internet and go look at all the best art in the world, all the art in the world. Then previously they would have to get in their car and go to a gallery. Now they don't have to go to the gallery. They can be. So I'm sure that the internet has benefited art as a whole, and was, you know, and the internet actually does that for you. You know, in other words, you can immediately reach. I mean, so these people get. I think Diane Victor gets about something like 25,000 visitors a month. You know, I mean, that's a lot of people. She would have to have a lot of exhibitions to get that type of exposure. So the internet is actually a real gift to the artist, I think. An artist that's not on the website, I think, is really missing out because it's relatively cheap. You know, if you think if it was printed material, you would pay 10 times that. Easy, no more, 20 times that. You know.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's especially social media. I don't do it a lot, but I know everybody gets to see my stuff through social media. Yeah, no, obviously things just happen a lot quicker. It's not, publishing and everything, it's instant.
Where an artist would normally, let's say, before the internet, they would have to go through exhibitions, they would have to exhibit their stuff. And even those years, like 40 years ago, as a matter of fact, I thought if I was an artist, I studied art, but I'm not an artist, I would have done it like Raymond Andrews, for instance. Raymond Andrews did prints. You know, he did screen prints, and he did prints, so that he could actually. I don't think that was the reason, and of course Walter Batters as well. So you can actually get your art spread around quite cheaply. People can afford it much easier, and it's seen by 50 times more people than if you actually did just painting, or you just did something that took a long time to paint.
I think it's become a bigger marketing tool for artists. It's easier for them to reach a larger audience through the internet, through social media like Facebook and Twitter and